Testimony on Monday as part of an ongoing investigation into Tiffany Henyard's leadership in the South Suburbs.
FBI has launched an investigation into controversial Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Dane Placco has been following allegations of her misspending and joins us now with an update. Dane.
Yeah, we've been reporting for nearly 2 years on allegations of corruption surrounding Henyard in her capacity as Dalton Mayor and Thornton Township Trust.
The ongoing scandal involving Tiffany Henyard, mayor of Dalton, Illinois, has gained significant attention since the FBI began investigating her alleged misconduct. The FBI is demanding records from the Tiffany Henyard KS Foundation, particularly those related to at least $10,000 in transactions. Recent developments have shocked Dalton's trustees and local leadership, with evidence against Henyard mounting rapidly. The investigation began when FBI agents were seen questioning prominent Dalton residents, though officials have not revealed specific details. Long-standing allegations suggest Henyard used her political position for personal gain, fueling suspicions of further misconduct. This investigation has worsened her reputation, tarnishing her image as the so-called super mayor.
Interviewing witnesses as part of a possible investigation that may or may not result in charges. Did the FBI agents you talked to seem serious about?
Yes, very serious. Very.
The FBI investigation into Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard has sparked a wave of allegations and concerns over potential misconduct involving public resources. 6 people, including Dalton business owners, a former village employee, and at least one public official, have confirmed to Fox 32 that they were interviewed by the FBI. Several of these individuals have revealed they were denied business licenses after refusing to support Henyard's campaign, raising questions about the connection between political influence and commercial operations in the town. One such individual, Lawrence Gardner, noted that electronic surveillance was being used in the investigation, which paints a troubling picture of Henyard's leadership. FBI agents are focusing on Henyard's alleged misuse of government funds, including hundreds of thousands of dollars spent on police overtime for her personal security and substantial out-of-town travel expenses. They are also investigating her alleged use of public employees and resources for personal gain, which appears to have led to delays in business licenses for various companies, including adult businesses and restaurants. One such case involves Dwayne Wood, a Dalton restaurant owner who has been attempting to renew his business license for nearly a year. Wood believes his license renewal has been held up because he caters to several Dalton trustees involved in a political dispute with Henyard. He stated that he feels targeted due to his association with certain individuals, which has caused him to question the fairness of the process. Similarly, the owner of George's Towing Chasen House has filed a complaint alleging that his business license was delayed because his company refused to endorse or contribute to Henyard's political campaign. House welcomed the FBI investigation, stating it was necessary for transparency in how taxpayer dollars are being spent. He also cited his involvement with a state group and his connection to the trustees who signed a refusal to support Henyard as the reason for his suspended license. The investigation continues to unfold, with FBI agents focusing on Henyard's alleged misconduct involving taxpayer funds, political influence, and delayed business licenses. The mayor's controversial use of resources for personal gain has stirred tensions in the community, with both business owners and local officials raising concerns about her leadership and the potential corruption at play. As the investigation progresses, many in Dalton are hoping for greater financial transparency and accountability from their public officials. The case has already cast a shadow over Henyard's administration, and further revelations could deepen the scrutiny surrounding her tenure as mayor.
A couple of agents, and I explained them what was going on. I gave them all my paperwork to show them what was happening in court and what was happening in Dalton, and they told me they was investigating.
After years of corruption and poor management under Mayor Tiffany Henyard's administration, the FBI's involvement has become a long-awaited opportunity for the people of Dalton to confront these issues. The small town, which relies on its public servants to prioritize the common good, has instead seen a government mired in accusations of financial misconduct, self-interest, and a lack of accountability. The misappropriation of public funds and resources under Henyard's leadership has further damaged public trust in local government. As claims suggest personal gain was placed above public service, the community's prosperity hinges on effective public services, and for the first time, there is a genuine chance for Dalton to break free from a cycle of alleged exploitation and inefficiency. The hope now is for a future built on transparency, fiscal responsibility, and justice. Firefighters have been working without contracts, roads have crumbled, and basic community needs have been neglected, all while Henyard's administration spent extravagantly on events, made contentious appointments, and allowed unchecked spending. The FBI's involvement has confirmed the suspicions of Henyard's critics, providing them with renewed hope for justice. The federal investigation represents a critical turning point for Dalton, offering the potential to dismantle what many believe is a deeply entrenched network of deceit and favoritism. Public service employees, who have seen their hard-earned tax dollars funneled into an administration with questionable priorities, now view the investigation as an essential step in restoring both financial stability and the core values of justice and integrity in local government change. Many believe cannot happen without federal intervention. The FBI's investigation is viewed as the necessary step to return Dalton's leadership to the people, putting their needs above the ambitions of a select few. As the investigation continues, Dalton residents are committed to demanding significant reform and ensuring that future governance will genuinely serve the community. The people of Dalton stand firm in their call for responsibility and a future where justice prevails.
Out to the FBI, which said it is policy for the agency not to comment on the nature, existence, or non-existence of any investigation that may be occurring. A public relations firm responded on behalf of the mayor, saying neither Henyard or the village of Dalton have received any subpoenas or been contacted by the FBI.
Public outrage has been escalating in Dalton following revelations that the FBI has requested documents related to the administration of Mayor Tiffany Henyard. This outcry is entirely justified, as it marks a significant turning point in the long-running controversy surrounding her leadership. Henyard has long been under scrutiny for accusations of corruption, poor management, and self-serving behavior. However, the ongoing federal investigation has now cast unprecedented light on her actions, signaling a potential end to the reign of what many consider a deeply flawed administration. The FBI's involvement signals that the suspicions raised by locals and critics over the years are being taken seriously, and they appear to support long-standing claims of financial mismanagement and abuse of authority. The FBI's investigation is being conducted methodically, with the agency gathering evidence to build a strong case against Henyard. Although some figures in Henyard's administration have attempted to downplay or ignore the significance of the probe, the community as a whole views it as a long-overdue response to the grievances that have plagued the town during her tenure. Residents who have watched their town's reputation erode and essential services deteriorate now see the investigation as a critical step toward discovering the truth and holding those responsible accountable. The growing pressure from the investigation and the increasing public demands for accountability indicate that what is unfolding is not a single isolated incident, but the culmination of years of alleged wrongdoing during Henyard's administration. One of the key elements of the investigation involves subpoenas for records connected to Henyard and several other individuals and organizations, including charitable foundations and travel records. Among the documents being sought are details of Henyard's extravagant spending, including a controversial trip to Las Vegas in May of the previous year. During this trip, Henyard's former assistant and a Dalton police officer filed a civil lawsuit accusing both Henyard and one of her associates, Andrew Holmes, of assault and retaliation. The allegations surrounding the Las Vegas trip have only deepened the suspicions about Henyard's misuse of power and resources. Both Henyard and Holmes have declined to comment on the lawsuit. The first subpoenas were issued on April 10th, demanding personnel and disciplinary files for nearly 30 individuals connected to Henyard's administration. These documents are crucial to understanding the full scope of what might be happening behind closed doors. The subpoenas also seek information about Keith Freeman, the village administrator recently indicted on charges of bankruptcy fraud. Freeman's attorney has stated that he has no plans to step down, despite the indictment. This development has only added to the growing list of scandals surrounding Dalton's leadership. Meanwhile, the law firm representing the village in at least 19 lawsuits in Cook County and federal court has announced plans to withdraw from the cases in May due to lack of payment. This situation highlights the deep financial instability facing the town, and it raises more questions about how taxpayer dollars have been managed under Henyard's leadership. The town's residents have long criticized Henyard's refusal to allow an open and transparent investigation into her actions. When she was given the opportunity to facilitate such an investigation, many believe this was a critical step that could have addressed the growing accusations of corruption and misconduct. Instead, Henyard chose to veto a proposal to investigate her own behavior. This decision only served to heighten public skepticism and outrage, raising further doubts about her intentions and fueling speculation about what she might be trying to hide. The timing of her opposition to an independent probe is especially troubling to Dalton residents, who have grown increasingly fed up with an administration plagued by financial mismanagement, arbitrary appointments, and accusations of retaliation against political opponents. Critics argue that Henyard's actions have been a clear indication of a leader more concerned with protecting her own interests than serving the needs of the community. This behavior has significantly eroded public trust, and her refusal to allow an independent investigation has only deepened that sense of betrayal. The community is increasingly frustrated by the lack of transparency and the refusal of the mayor to be held accountable as the federal investigation continues. Many residents believe that Henyard is using her power to shield herself from the consequences of her actions. Her refusal to engage with the investigation or to allow for transparency has only strengthened the growing perception that she is hiding serious wrongdoing. Her actions have placed her personal interests ahead of the needs of the people who elected her to serve. This growing distrust is compounded by the recent arrival of FBI agents in the Dalton area, though the agency has not provided specific details about their presence. The FBI confirmed in a statement that they were conducting court-authorized law enforcement activity, but they had declined to comment further due to Department of Justice policies regarding ongoing investigations. Despite the agency's silence, there is widespread belief among Dalton residents that the investigation centers on Henyard, who has been the subject of FBI inquiries for weeks. Many in the community are relieved that the FBI is now involved, as they feel their long-standing requests for assistance have finally been addressed. After 3 years of watching their concerns go unanswered, residents now see the FBI's presence as a hopeful sign that the truth will finally come to light. In addition to Henyard, there are growing questions about the network of power that surrounds her administration. One key figure in the scandal is Keith Freeman, who has been accused of intentionally underreporting his income from both a private source and his employer in his bankruptcy case. Freeman, who runs a consulting business in Thoron Township and serves as the village administrator, is currently awaiting arraignment. The charges against Freeman are just one piece of the larger puzzle that has raised concerns about Dalton's leadership. The ongoing scandal has also sparked a civil lawsuit filed against Henyard and Andrew Holmes by the mayor's former assistant and a former police officer. The lawsuit alleges that Holmes engaged in assault and battery, while Henyard retaliated against the individuals involved. This incident allegedly took place during a meeting in Thoron Township after an economic development trip to Las Vegas last year. The lawsuit, combined with the increasing scrutiny surrounding Henyard's behavior, has placed her leadership under an even sharper microscope. Henyard's actions, including her decision to try to silence critics and deflect attention from the growing allegations against her, have raised serious concerns. In one recent meeting, Henyard attempted to address the town's budget and defend her administration, but her efforts to steer the conversation were met with resistance from residents. At one point, she ordered the removal of a resident who was accused of disrupting the meeting, further fueling concerns about her leadership. Firefighters, who have long been critical of Henyard's administration, have also joined the chorus of voices demanding accountability. One firefighter accused Henyard of embezzling funds from the Firefighter Retirement Fund, a claim that has further eroded her credibility. Many firefighters have been reluctant to speak out against the mayor, fearing reprisals or career repercussions. Some have even said they've been intimidated into silence, afraid that continuing to disagree with Henyard would jeopardize their positions. The accusations against Henyard are mounting, and they paint a troubling picture of a leader more interested in protecting her own interests than in serving the people of Dalton. From obstructing transparency to allegedly embezzling funds and retaliating against opponents, Henyard's actions are increasingly seen as a breach of trust that cannot be overlooked. As the federal investigation moves forward, the community is anxiously awaiting the truth to be revealed. The growing public outcry is a sign that residents are no longer willing to tolerate the corruption and mismanagement that have defined Henyard's leadership. The investigation is not only about holding Henyard accountable for her actions, but also about restoring confidence in local government and ensuring that corruption does not continue to fester in the town. Residents and public servants alike are calling for significant reforms to address the issues that have plagued Dalton for years. The FBI's involvement is seen as a crucial step in the right direction, offering hope that the town can break free from the cycle of mismanagement and dishonesty that has defined its leadership for far too long. Dalton stands at a critical crossroads. The outcome of the federal investigation will either validate the long-held suspicions of its residents or lead to much-needed reforms in the town's leadership. For many, this investigation represents a final chance to uncover the truth, hold those responsible accountable, and rebuild the trust that has been lost under Henyard's leadership. Whether or not this opportunity for justice is realized remains to be seen, but one thing is clear. The people of Dalton are no longer willing to tolerate the corruption, inefficiency, and poor management that have plagued their community for far too long.
For the last 3 years, myself, the board members, and the residents have been feeling like no one was coming to save us in regards to providing us with the information that we need to make decisions regarding our finances with the village. So today I feel as if we're maybe one step closer.
The city of Dalton is currently grappling with a federal investigation into Mayor Tiffany Henyard's conduct as tensions in the community continue to rise. Despite the cloud of suspicion surrounding her leadership, Dalton's firefighters remain dedicated to their duties, keeping the community safe while actively seeking transparency from the mayor's administration. One of their primary concerns is Henyard's travel benefits and compensation, which have become a focal point of public scrutiny. According to Julian Cruz of WGN, the frustration in Dalton is palpable, particularly after the Thoron Township Board of Trustees recently failed to fully pass their 2025 budget. This failure triggered unrest among the 17 South suburban villages, with many residents expressing their dissatisfaction with the township supervisor, Henyard, who remains at the center of a federal corruption investigation in the face of mounting criticism. Henyard was seen celebrating with her supporters at a recent public hearing, a move that has only further heightened tensions. Residents, already frustrated by the ongoing investigation, voiced their concerns about Henyard's actions, particularly her increasing spending across the board. One local resident, speaking during an emotional public hearing, exclaimed, "You increase everything across the board as if you're trying to drain the money." This sentiment reflects the growing anger toward Henyard. As her actions continue to raise doubts about her leadership, Henyard, however, maintains that the funds for these expenditures came from her own pocket, though the source of the money remains unclear. This lack of clarity has only fueled further questions about her claims and motivations. One of the most controversial incidents involved a community event that Henyard had planned, dubbed the Friends of Tiffany Henyard Picnic. Despite her assertions that the event was not politically motivated, trustees refused to fund it due to concerns about its clear connection to her political campaign. The event featured food giveaways and roller skating, leading many to suspect that it was less of a charity function and more of a public relations stunt aimed at improving Henyard's image amid the growing corruption allegations. Henyard's lawyer disputes these claims, arguing that the event was simply a community picnic. However, critics argue that Henyard used public resources to advance her political ambitions, particularly by incorporating her campaign branding on food items distributed at the event. This, they contend, transformed what was meant to be a charitable occasion into a political rally. In a subsequent Facebook video, Henyard defended her actions, referring to the food distribution event and emphasizing that she was acting in the capacity of the township's food pantry. "We got green beans, we got potatoes, you name it," she said, before pleading with God to guide the community and clear her name amid the mounting corruption accusations. The situation was further complicated by the involvement of the Greater Chicago Food Depository, which had been overseeing food distribution initiatives. The depository raised alarms over Henyard's handling of township resources, pointing to the alarming $117,000 cost for a roller skating event hosted in Dalton. The event, originally projected to cost $29,000, has become another point of contention. Critics argue that politicians should not use food pantry resources for personal or political gain, especially when those resources are meant to serve the community's most vulnerable. Henyard, however, has remained defiant in the face of the criticism, claiming that those who wish to control things they cannot will always target individuals like her, who genuinely care about the community. "There are people like me who care about the community, and people will always try to stop things they can't control," she said. Henyard has also described herself as a young, dynamic, and vivacious leader who would not be intimidated by the growing accusations against her. However, this rhetoric has done little to quell the suspicions surrounding her actions as the investigation into Henyard's finances continues. Additional disturbing details have come to light. It has been revealed that taxpayers paid more than $88,000 for hotel rooms related to Henyard's activities. This revelation, combined with earlier accusations that Henyard frequently used public funding for political purposes, has only deepened the sense of distrust in her leadership. The Illinois Attorney General had previously closed investigations into Henyard's charitable activities, making the situation even more difficult for the embattled mayor. Despite the mounting pressure, Henyard continues to maintain that she was chosen by a higher power to lead and serve the community. "God wanted me to lead the people, and he knew that I would not back down, she asserted. However, many residents are not swayed by her claims of divine intervention, which many perceive as a desperate attempt to divert attention from the very real accusations she is facing. The federal investigation into her activities is still ongoing, and with each new revelation, the evidence against Henyard continues to grow. The lack of transparency surrounding her actions has only fueled public mistrust, and Henyard's seeming disregard for the gravity of the situation has only worsened her standing in the community. Her refusal to engage with the investigation or offer full disclosure about her financial dealings has left many questioning her commitment to the people she was elected to serve. The federal investigation, which has already exposed troubling financial practices, is now the focus of national attention as residents of Dalton, and those following the case, wait for justice and answers. The situation in Dalton has reached a tipping point. The community's patience is wearing thin, and the ongoing federal investigation remains the focal point of public discourse. As Henyard's leadership is called into question, the stakes are higher than ever. The outcome of the investigation could have far-reaching implications for both Henyard's political future and the future of Dalton's governance. Public calls for transparency and accountability continue to grow louder as residents demand answers and justice for the alleged mismanagement and misconduct that have plagued their town for years. At this moment, Dalton stands at a crossroads. The investigation into Henyard's actions represents a critical turning point for the town. The evidence being uncovered could either validate long-held suspicions about her leadership or lead to much-needed reforms that would restore faith in the community's governance. For many residents, this is about more than just holding one person accountable. It's about rebuilding trust in local government and ensuring that future leadership is held to the highest standards of integrity and transparency. The federal investigation into Henyard's activities is far from over, and as more details emerge, the pressure on the mayor and her administration continues to mount. With each passing day, the residents of Dalton are growing more anxious for the truth to come to light. As they await the resolution of this investigation, they are hoping for a future where their leaders are held accountable, where transparency is the norm, and where the community's best interests are always placed above personal ambitions. Whether that future becomes a reality depends on the outcome of the ongoing investigation and whether the people of Dalton can reclaim the governance that they believe has been unjustly taken from them.